Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. This is a very good one. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking, and I appreciate the support. So the unusual death of Emmanuel Lopez, right? Emmanuel Lopez, for those of you that don't know who he was one of the individuals that was actually at the Stockton mass shooting birthday party when it occurred, right? He did lose a friend. He lost several people in that shooting and is now reclassified as just a shooting, a gang-related shooting and not a mass shooting, but he was definitely there. Now, what makes it so unusual? I showed you in that clip before, this man was not having paranoia delusions. This man truly believed that the Stockton Police Department was trying to delete him, was trying to get rid of him for some reason. Now, was he being investigated for the shooting, for being involved, shooting back at the assailants that allegedly went in there and killed children? One never knows, does one? I'm sure they were investigating all options and keeping their eye on everybody that was a party goer there, everyone that was there. But it's highly unusual that someone makes a statement or a claim on social media that an actual law enforcement agency is trying to delete them, and then 3 weeks later, they're gone. I'm going to read you something. Emmanuel Lopez said the Stockton police wanted him deleted. 2 weeks later, he was murdered in Lodi. The curious case of Emmanuel Lopez. Before he was killed, Emmanuel Lopez posted, "I feel like they are trying to get me," referring to Stockton police. There is no public evidence supporting such a bombastic claim aside from a traffic stop, right? But this is something he felt, something he was trying to put out there. What is known is that Lopez and allegedly his child survived the November 29, 2025 birthday party mass shooting in Stockton. Roughly a month later, he was shot and killed in a Lodi apartment complex, right? According to his own Facebook posts, it appears he was not only present during the mass shooting, that can be more accurately described as a shootout, as he mourned the loss of his friends, who was the only adult killed with the 3 innocent babies, right? Both cases remain unsolved with no arrests made as of this publication. However, the possible connection between both events may be linked more than just circumstances, right? Sources and rumors are now claiming Stockton's Office of Violence Prevention provides emergency relocation services and financial assistance to individuals classified as high risk, moving them across city lines, including into the city of Lodi. Now, this man was killed in Lodi. He's from Stockton. He was part of the mass shooting, involved, to some degree. He was there. And he started making claims saying that he was pulled over and that the police had harassed him. I'm going to read exactly what he said, the statement that he made. This is Emmanuel Lopez on December 14, 2025, making a Facebook post. He says, "I am posting this in case SPD tries to delete it. SPD lit me up to pull me over for a routine traffic stop and immediately crashed into my vehicle and told me it was a pit maneuver, which implied that I was evading. They searched my car, put me in handcuffs, and I'm not on parole or probation. They found nothing illegal and proceeded to write me a ticket for a red light violation. Mind you, the only time a pit maneuver is used is when someone runs. I wasn't. And if I was, they would have took me to jail. Anyways, there was 10 cars for traffic to be stopped. The shit got real. This harassment is ridiculous. I will be filing a lawsuit. I was injured by them crashing into me." And then he goes on to make other posts saying that he feels like they're harassing him and that he feels pressured and he sees people following him and that he thinks he's going to be deleted, meaning killed, right? 2 weeks later, he is. Now, is this just a conspiracy theory? Is this someone that maybe was traumatized by the shooting? Because I'll let you know, man, when you you have a traumatic experience and you see something, you see people shot in front of you and all that, it changes your mindset. Everything you think you were, you're not anymore. Everything you want to be changes. Okay. And I've noticed that since that shooting happened, and they have not arrested anyone in connection with that shooting, one way or the other, and they have not arrested anyone in connection with Emmanuel Lopez's shooting, right? It just seems to be like a lot of the people that were involved are either claiming harassment, are claiming people are following them, are moving out of town. You know, it's very serious. Stockton, California reminds me of Long Beach, California, two very rough, vicious, violent, serious cities in the state of California, right? On two whole different sides of the spectrum, two whole different sides of California, but it's the same Kool-Aid that everyone's drinking. You know, the shoot first mentality, the gang banging mentality. You know, Stockton is at war within itself. You got a lot of different gangs that don't get along, one side against the other side, and everyone's choosing sides. Now, this was such an unfortunate case when this happened because it was a child's birthday party and babies were shot and people went in there with reckless abandonment and just started shooting up. Whoever got hit, got hit. Now, of course, we already know by the investigation that people were firing back. I kind of figured that right from the gate. You're not going to have a whole bunch of gang members at a party, even though it's a child's birthday party. They're not going to be lacking, especially in the city of Stockton, where it's a place that it's better to have it on you than not, right? What is confusing is the fact that the Stockton Police Department has not yet found, you know, any people that had motive to do it or any suspects. That's highly unusual. We are now in March 2nd. This happened in November, several months, and they still don't have a suspect. That means either the street's not talking or they're not really trying hard enough to catch who killed and murdered these three babies, including the 21-year-old norteño, alleged norteño that was killed at the party as well, right? Now, this guy who was there, who survived it, unfortunately loses his life 3 weeks later. It's crazy. Now, like I said, these statements that he was making could have been just paranoia. He could have felt like, hey, they're harassing me, they're on me. But of course, I believe, and this is just my own thing, and I don't know if it's true, if really there's some unusual shit that surrounds this death, but it seems odd to me that he would even be making these statements on social media, knowing that, you know, the Stockton Police Department is on him. I believe they were just investigating him, maybe following him around, trying to see if they can catch him with something on him, or maybe just, you know, watching out for him. Now, that last statement that I read that said that they have been known to, you know, financially assist and move people from the city that are high risk, you know, that happens everywhere. You know, if there's someone that they know is targeted, has a green light put on them, and this goes for everywhere in California and other cities as well, they are obligated, the feds, the police, they are obligated to let you know that your life is in danger. Same thing happens in prison. If they receive a huila or something, they confiscate some hot huilas or hot material, hot paperwork, and your name's targeted, you know, for a green light or to get removed, they are obligated to let you know. They have to let you know and give you an option whether you want to back up, PC up, do whatever you got to do, go to a different yard and seek protection, or you want to go out on that yard. They cannot force you to go into protective custody. Guys that claim that they were forced into protective custody are fucking full of shit. Okay? People that claim on the streets that they were forced into the witness protection program, they're lying to you. The facts are this. Any person that gets moved to any yard is because you have a sensitive need. You are no longer welcomed on that general population yard or within that city or that gang. And it's up to the officers, like I said, and they're obligated to tell you. So they might have been trying to give this guy, you know, the heads up, like, hey, these people that went in there targeting you as well as all the rest of the males and the people that are a part of a gang that were in that party, you know, you guys' number is coming up. People are still actively seeking you. You know, I don't know if they gave him a heads up or if he felt they were just harassing him, but I'm sure they were looking for weapons or anything that could help lead to this investigation because he was there. Like I said, he survived. And they know that people there were shooting back. So it is what it is, right? You know, I just noticed that with this case, it keeps spiraling. There's a lot of different things. And for something that happened so big and was big and shocking in the community of Stockton, for them to have no suspects and not arrest anyone, but people are still continuously dying or being hurt that were there at that party, it seems odd, right? It seems rather odd. It's a trip. You know, it's like 2 and 2 equals 4. You know, it's like 1 and 3 equals Surgang. You would figure it out, right? Kind of, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a genius to figure out something's going on out there. You know, and I believe the Stockton Police Department are very well aware of what exactly is going on, but realize because it is gang members, why not let them delete each other? You know, I kind of think what's going on in the California Department of Corrections is the same thing. I believe, you know, there is a situation where, you know, don't ask, don't tell. If people are getting removed on the yard, stabbed up on the yard, hey, better them than us type mentality. You know, I've been around a lot of COs, been locked up a lot of years of my life, and they got that mentality. They're not trying to get involved at nothing with nothing that involves them. You don't know how many times I've been told by a CO, do whatever you guys got to do. Just don't do it while I'm here. I don't want to do the paperwork. They don't care if you're going to kill someone. They don't care what exactly you got going on. They already know they can't prevent it. And that's the facts. Nothing can be prevented. Unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't have what it takes to prevent gang violence. Gang members are born every day, but so are cops, right? So you have to watch what you do while you're out there. It's just facts and truth. Now, as far as this guy, Emmanuel Lopez, goes, it's crazy that someone would foresee their death. I see death around the corner. Remember, Pac said it. Pac always talked about it, and unfortunately and ultimately, that's what happened to him. And it seems like Emmanuel Lopez was doing the exact same thing. He felt that the harassment by law enforcement was going to lead to his demise and his deletion. And guess what? 2 weeks later, voila, he was. Now, of course, the circumstances surrounding that is still under investigation, and they have no suspects. You know, it's crazy to think that, you know, how it's all tied together with this Stockton shooting, and how no one seems to be getting arrested. No one seems to be getting apprehended, but people seem to be getting hurt over and over again. It leads me to believe that the police department just doesn't care. They're more vested their time in getting rid of these gang members, no matter how it works, whether they incarcerate them or they're killed, rather than, you know, bringing justice to the families of those children or to someone like Emmanuel Lopez. It's crazy, right? You know, I just think it's odd. And that's why I wanted to put the story out there as it came across, like, what's going on? You know, I've seen situations that were pretty odd, but this one seems to be having so many twists and turns, like it doesn't stop, right? And for someone to make the claim that they were, the pit maneuver was used on them for a simple traffic stop, that's crazy. You know, that's unusual. I think this guy made a mistake. I'm not going to say who I believe, in my opinion, took him out, because I don't know. But I believe he honestly made a mistake by putting the posts out that he did. You know, anytime you bring negative attention, unwanted attention to yourself, bad things happen, especially in the world we're living in right now. You know, that's why you don't want to go on the internet and disrespect people, because you never know what the day brings. You never know, right? You got to be of an understanding, treat everybody with respect, watch what you say. You never know, you know what I'm saying, when someone's going to pull up to that strip club, or you never know when someone's going to pull up to that taco truck, or to that, you know, that kiosk in the mall, or to wherever you're at. No, you just never know. And unfortunately, people that got that rah-rah going on, that could be shut down. There are people that will, or people that they know that will do things. It's crazy, right? That's crazy for reals, you know. But this guy, Emmanuel Lopez, like I said, he's no longer with us, and it's crazy because he was at that Stockton shooting. Now, could this be a coincidence that he was just there? You know, it is the city of Stockton. Violence happens all the time, but this didn't happen in Stockton. This happened in Lodi. It's a city located right outside of Stockton that's made famous by, of course, Nick and Nate Diaz, the Diaz brothers, who believe people always see the Stockton slap in Stockton, California. They're not from Stockton. They're actually from Lodi, which is a little city outside of Stockton. Anyone that knows, right? Stockton's dangerous. It's a very dangerous city. Like I said, like Long Beach, just continuous shootings, continuous death over there. Same thing happens in Stockton in Northern California, right? So this could have been just, hey, he's still in the mix. He's still living that life. He found himself in a situation in an apartment complex, and that was that, right? Or it could be something way bigger, a bigger conspiracy. But I'm thinking, like, what is it? Why would the cops want to take him out in particular? Was he being blamed, or was he the actual target for what happened there? I don't believe that the one guy in particular, was the target. I believe it was a collective of things going on there. I believe it was just simple gang violence. These guys knew they're having a birthday party over here. There's going to be all kinds of gang members, the ops. Let's go light that shit up and let them have it. Now, of course, this new era in the way of thinking, this EBK era of everybody can get it, is just what it is, right? Unfortunately, children were hurt. I don't think the children were targeted, but anytime you go to a birthday party or somewhere where kids are present, that's a cowardice move to me. That's not what gang banging was supposed to be, but that's what it's turned into. And it's not the first incident. And let's not act like it's never happened before, because there's been a lot of incidences in the world that we live in where children were hurt. They were hit, whether it be by stray bullets or targeted. Gang members aren't the nicest people on earth. Anytime you got a gun on you and you go to an establishment, to hurt someone and commit a violent act, you're not, I can't sit here and say you're a good person. You're doing bad things. You know what I'm saying? That's not God on your side. That's not God's plan. That's your plan. So it's just unfortunate. Anyways, I was looking into this Emmanuel case, and I'm gonna continue to look into it. And I believe that, he was deleted for a reason, whether it was gang banging, whether he was targeted, or whether the police department did have direct involvement in this case. And I don't want to say and put it on them, because I don't want to be put in that mix. But I'll say it's just I'm very curious as into why he would make these statements and feel the way he felt and single out the police department for something that happened to him. I think we'll just never know. He's not here anymore to speak on it. You notice when people say something bad about a certain entity or group, they're gone. It's crazy. Anyways, with that being said, let me know what you guys think, man. Do you think that this case right here is tied in? I know he's tied in because he was at the party, but do you think it's actually tied into one big conspiracy? Or do you think, man, it just is Stockton, it just is Lodi, it just is the Central Valley, the area right there? And hey, man, this guy was tripping because he was at that party and he seen some crazy shit, and it kind of gave him post-traumatic stress. I'm telling you, when I seen the first pegada or was involved in a pegada in prison, man, that shit messed with my mind. I think the only thing that helped me as a convict was going to the youth authority. When I was in YA, it prepared me and kind of educated me into an understanding of how vicious and violent incarceration can be. So, them battery packs and them knives and getting stabbed and being involved in that type of criminality and that type of gang banging prepared me for what I was going to see in prison. But when you see someone get almost decapitated or hit several times right in front of you to where you could smell the death, let me tell you, there is nothing on earth that prepares you for that. And you will never be the same again. You will always be precautious. You will always watch your back. You will always be aware, because you've seen something and you've seen how quick in a blink of an eye it could go down. That's why people that are ex-convicts, you see the way they move. Most of them, it's not that they're paranoid, but they're very fucking aware. I'm one of them. I think he's seen that incident go down, seen friends and family and children murdered in front of him, and he believed, man, that the paranoia set in. He was just going to be targeted. And it's crazy because 2 to 3 weeks later, he's gone. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Turlock area, go to the Barrio and get you something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Arizona. Google the homeboy, and if he's in your immediate area, he'll pull up and take care of your business, because you obviously ain't mowing your lawn. The homie got you. Bang, bang.